We're at San Diego Comic-Con with Kieron Gillen, Darth Vader. Tell us what's been going on in the series thus far.
Well, Darth Vader is this kind of very minor character not many people have heard of, but the book's done really quite well. It's been a bit of a surprise. Darth Vader is set between A New Hope and Empire Strikes Back. It's basically the story of, if you've watched the movies, and you probably have, at the end of A New Hope, Vader is the sole survivor of the biggest military disaster of all time. Literally, that's the Emperor's plan for 20 years to build this thing and take over the universe with it. That's literally the plan, and they've blown up. That's catastrophic. At the start of Empire, he is much more powerful than he ever was in A New Hope. He's got the Starfleet, he's just killing people randomly, he's like on a whole new level. There's an implied story between the two. Like, this is basically the fall and rise of Darth Vader. I always reference House of Cards. So it's a man who is powerful, who feels slighted, and now turns to tactics he would not have normally done before to regain his power and exceed it. At the same time, of course, the other thing in the book is, between the two movies, Darth Vader realises he has a son. In the story, we get to find the moment when Darth has that moment, and he's realised the last 20 years of his life has been a complete lie. So that's what the book is. It's basically Darth's adventures to try to A, start hunting down Luke, B, regain his power. And we're kind of reaching the end of that, which is, it was always an idea of a story. It was not really going to ever be ongoing eternally. This was going to be a book which builds towards conclusion, then stops, and that's kind of what we do. Like, I'm really incredibly proud of the last couple of issues.
Great. Now, obviously, Darth Vader, like you said, needs no introduction. Definitely one of the most iconic villains of all time in any form of media. So how daunting was that to be like, I'm writing Darth Vader, but not only that, you're writing Darth Vader in continuity with the movie. So everything that you're writing is lining up to Rogue One, to the future of Star Wars in general.
Yeah, it's intimidating. When I didn't immediately accept the job, I had to have a few days to think about it. At least one of the reasons why I had to think about it was, could I do the job properly? Because you say it's canon, and more importantly, it's very personal. The first movie I ever saw in the cinema was Empire. So in a real way, the fact I'm writing Vader's lead into Empire, I'm writing the prologue of my own entry into pop culture, my entry into fantasy. In other words, I'm sort of doing the prologue to my own becoming a writer in many ways, and my first image of evil. So yeah, it's all should be so primal. In actual fact, it's been fun. It's actually been like, the writing's flowed very easily. It just comes from the gut. And part of me thinks there's kind of like, I haven't quite processed the fact, oh no, this is for real. And like in 2 years down the line, I'll have a moment of like a nervous breakdown when I realise actually what was happening. But at the moment, I've managed to get through the entire series without falling apart. But it's been so much fun.
Now, did Marvel or Disney have, because they're very particular about these characters. So when you're like, okay, you're writing Darth Vader, but here's X, Y, and Z is what you can do, is what you can't do. Now play with that, knowing what you can and cannot do.
Well, it's like they have the story group now, and the story group keeps all the canon in line. So when we first went to the meeting in San Francisco with them, and we pitched what we wanted to do, it was never like them saying something originally that's that. On the same time, what we were pitching is, we're not going to pitch like, I don't know, Darth Vader becomes a DJ and starts hanging out in clubs. As I said, this is a story between the two movies. There's an implicit story based on a close reading. So in other words, what we were pitching is something that will serve the material. So like that was never a problem. The problem is always, okay, what can we get away with? Or what's okay? And we always pitch big. And it's like, we threw really big things at them and they said no. Oh, yes. And that's when we found the limit. We were never interested in limiting ourselves like that. And then at the same time, the phrase I always connect to them is, remember, it's a big universe. And like, yeah, if I'm a crime lord, it shouldn't always be Jabba. And we spent so much time making up new stuff. This is kind of like the main thing. If you go for my run, there's so many new characters we invent, and we go to new worlds, and trying to find something that feels like Star Wars without being just the same thing. That's so much attractive, something big and iconic. And someone like Afra, who is like one of the major supporting casts, is kind of basically evil Indiana Jones. And that's a big archetype. That's the thing. What does a Star Wars character feel like? Right. And that's why Afra comes from. Very
good. Now, you're obviously towards the end of your run. I believe you have 2 more issues left, right? So you've basically done the majority of it. Obviously, you know how it's going to finish. Now, what was like, since you're writing Darth Vader, what was the moment you're like, I have to put that in there, because whatever I put in there is now in Star Wars canon, and it's going to live there forever?
It's like I have been relatively egoless in this job. It's like there's moments of joy that, I actually did that, and that's funny, but they always come from the material. I have a son. That's the bit where that's an implicit story. That's a scene that we know must have happened at some point in the canon, but I got to write it. I got to write those beats like that. And that is the thing. And so it's not actually something weird I've slipped in. It's actually much more me, I guess it's being very pretentious. Like an actor wants to do Hamlet. I got to do those lines. That's the thing, as in, I got to do the job, as opposed to being a bit cheeky. Everything with the murder droids, like 000 and BT, are basically evil 3PO and R2. They're not quite that, but they are that. The fact that 000 kind of believes that Force is all about blood, and he basically wants to drain all the humans' blood and push it into robots so robots can become powerful. That's creepy, and that was a fun idea to get him.
So for the last 2 issues, what can we expect? A little tease for the end of the series, because it's wrapping up at 25.
I think we can expect a bearded Australian writer in a hat to barge in, like just basically go behind, like do a Kanye in that kind of way. Issue 24 is probably the weirdest issue in the series. This is one of the things where I don't think I would have actually pitched this. It was actually a story group saying, something a bit like the Sith philosophy. Something that was like, we end up basically doing Dagobah. When Luke, the whole hallucinatory sequence, we're doing something like that for Vader. So it's really dark, it's very trippy. I think it's really good. But I have no idea. It's so weird. I'm not sure how people will respond to it. But at least a really kick-ass Vader beat. And the final issue, everything comes together. I mean, people who've read my other stuff, like Journey to Mystery and Wicked Divine, I'm very structural. I'm all about the ending in terms of everything has to delineate together. So the final issue is who lives, who dies. Afra, who's one of the major supporting characters. So many other people have died already. Is she going to get out? Is she not? What's going to happen to the droids? Will the Emperor ever forgive anybody? Exactly how horrible will Silo's death be? That's the thing. It's the end of the movie. You can guarantee one thing: an enormous spaceship will explode. You know what I mean? There must be. It's the end of a Star Wars. There'll be a space battle. There'll be a big explosion. So yeah, there will be a double thread of something exploding.
Kieron Gillen, Darth Vader, thank you very much.
Thank you.